Got a chance to catch up with our good friends over in Nashville, both Cory Curtis and Julian Minnesone. They're fresh back from Nashville, our best back from Indianapolis, Indiana at the NFL Combine. We'll get to some Combine stuff here in just a little bit and talk a little bit about what you saw there from the guys that you cover from a college basis, but then also more importantly with the Tennessee Titans. But let's first start in college basketball. This is a Vanderbilt men's basketball team. Obviously, at the beginning of the season looked really, really good, but I think you highlighted it perfectly. It's been a downhill thing, but it hasn't been like off a cliff. It just they're seemingly like, death by 1,000 paper cuts, feels like.
Yeah.
After this latest loss over there at Rupp Arena, what do you make of where this squad is, both physically and mentally?
Well, I mean, I think they're an 8 seed in the SEC tournament right now, and I think they're looking at like a 5 or a 6 in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
So they're still in good shape for that, and and maybe that's just how good they are. I know that loss to Kentucky. You give up 60% shooting, you're not going to win many of those games. That's just not how that's not how that's going to work ever, and so. We knew when they got to conference play it would get harder, because the SEC is going to have 11 teams in the tournament this year, and you're going to lose some games. And so it was 16-0 start. We knew that wasn't sustainable.
Right.
But I would say, you'd still have to call where they are right now disappointing.
Yes.
In the trajectory that they are on. Tyler Tanner continues to have a great year, but I think in the Kentucky game as well, Duke Miles and Tyler Nickel were somewhere like 8 for 24 from the floor.
Right.
And they only got like 15 minutes from Devin McLaughlin.
Yep.
Now they did get points from some other people, but you need more from those guys. Those guys, they've got to deliver more for you, especially in a tough road game in a place like Rupp Arena. Tyler had, I think, 18 points in that game. You can't count on him. He's not Michaela Blake. You're not going to get 34 from him every night.
Right.
And so, they need more from other guys, and maybe this is just who they are. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Obviously, the 3-point percentages were terrible. They shot 7 of 28. So,
25%? Yeah.
Right. Do you chalk that up to purely a bad night at Rupp Arena? Are there cause for cause for major concern as they go into the NCAA tournament? What do you attribute these shooting woes to?
Well, I think that we've seen them kind of heading more in this trajectory where the shooting percentage has come down. Maybe part of it's late in the season, but it's also year 2 for Mark Byington. Maybe some of the teams are figuring out a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there's a big emphasis on not letting Tyler Tanner beat them and making the other guys beat them.
Right.
You need Tyler Nickel to shoot. I'd say at least 33% from the floor, but you need him to shoot better from that. You need him from 3-point range. You need him to be a 38 to 40% 3-point shooter, and he hasn't been. And that Miles has been hurt a bunch this year, as well as the other guard that they have, and they just haven't been able to get enough consistently here as the conference games have gotten harder. And teams, I think, know that if they can clamp down on Tyler Nickel in the last 5 minutes of the game, that they've got a great shot to win. I think a couple weeks ago, I'm trying to remember who they won. They beat at Memorial, and it was Okereke who had the big 3 with like a minute to go. And so they had somebody step up and make a big shot. They need more of that.
You could talk about how obviously Nickel needs to shoot better. I believe he did shoot 25% from 3. Duke Miles has been hurt, came back. I think you and I both agree he played more minutes than I think Mark Byington was hoping for, just because of the situation around Tyler Tanner being sick.
Yeah.
But really, what has changed for this team? Because it really does feel like, they've been on this free fall that they win a game. It looks like they might be able to get out of it, but a lot of these games are close. They're just going in the wrong direction.
Well, we talked about the competition early in the season. They had some quality wins, but like I said, when we got to the conference play, we knew it was going to be harder. And, we always say this, covering the Titans, it doesn't matter what anybody's record is when you play somebody in your division. So when you play an AFC South game, the games are generally going to be lower scoring and harder to play because everybody knows each other. And when you get to conference play, everybody really tends to know each other, and it just gets a little bit harder. And this team hasn't found another gear here as we've hit the second half of the conference season, where teams like Florida have. And where Tennessee had been coming on, they were finding another gear. I don't know what the condition of Ament is right now, but they're back in the top 25 this week. And so Vanderbilt's, they've still got time. You can still find that gear, in the SEC tournament. When you get there, they're going to have to find it. They're going to have to get their legs under them, and they're going to have to hit some shots. Because if you remember in the non-conference, they were averaging close to 100 points a game.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what those numbers are for the SEC, but they're considerably further down. I mean, they shot 52% in this game against Kentucky as a teteam. It's just the guys that you need to shoot well didn't shoot particularly well.
Right.
And especially Nickel, because he's going to shoot 3-point field goals for you. But they as a team just shot much better before they got to conference play, because it's gotten harder, and they've got to do better.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they're not fast enough, athletic enough in league play to keep up with it or not. Maybe that's part of it. But they are struggling to keep up that type of pace that they had the first 16 games of the season.
Absolutely. You teed this up perfectly. Tyler Nickel is one of the guys that Coach Mark Byington talked about after the game.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 of the 4 thing, sometimes you got to zoom out and say, are you playing good basketball or you're not? We were a half inch away from beating Missouri on the road. The Tennessee game was a toss-up. They made tough shots down the last 3 possessions. We didn't. This one, we got outmatched this one. So I don't think it's looking at a big thing. I think it's zoom out a little bit. Today we didn't play well. And then that's the one we got to fix. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously, teams are putting it as a priority to try to take him away. Same thing we were supposed to do with Chandler today. And, he's getting some looks, and, we got confidence in him. He'll make big shots and big plays. It's such a long season that, sometimes we got to find them better ones. We got to pass the ball better. But we got total faith that, he'll keep going.
So a bit of a runway before the season finale against Tennessee. Obviously, these the arch rival, but you got to go to Ole Miss first of all. Try to pick a nice win there in the bleeding, so to speak. What do they need to do in Oxford to be able to set themselves up really well before their game against the Tennessee Vols?
Well, they can't give up 60% shooting, and they got to knock down some 3-point shots. I hate to be a broken record here.
Yeah.
But, it always starts on the defensive end. It always does. By the way, they also got out rebounded by Kentucky 29-22. So look, that's not a good day. I mean, there's not a lot of balls to rebound when they're shooting 60%.
Right.
I mean, but how many times, especially with a guy like Tyler Tanner, do you see defense turn to offense? And so I think if they want to increase their scoring here down the stretch, I think the best way for them to do that is to lock down defensively and turn more defense to offense. They've got to find another gear on that end of the floor, to open some things up for themselves and get transition started, and free up the guys who are shooters for shots. Because when you get those shots in the half court, they tend to not be near as open as they are when you're playing a 94-foot game. And so I think they need to find a way to play more of a 94-foot game to free up more looks at the basket. And that starts with bringing down that opponent field goal percentage.